to start with you, as we feel trading mindset is at the pinnacle of becoming a successful trader and will lay a good foundation for those who want to trade successfully as we do. So I just wanted to ask, what got you into trading and how did that evolve into becoming a performance coach?
Well, firstly, good morning, Cruz. Good to see you again. What first got me into trading? I just remember being a 16-year-old when you could leave school at 16, and I went up to the city with my best pal, and we went around to the stock exchange and to insurance companies and to all of these different places because we wanted to work in London. And he ended up getting a job at the Bank of England, and I ended up getting a job at a stock jobber.
Brilliant.
And which was wonderful, I was a tea boy running around the city, delivering parcels, making tea, just being a real junior, and I loved it, and it was great training. And it taught me a lot, really, and not just about the industry, but it taught me a lot about who you are and how you can show up.
Yeah.
On that cruise, I then went on to become, to work for a stockbroker.
Yeah.
And I remember being on the stock exchange floor, and it was awe-inspiring because you had these gentlemen in their top hats and three-piece suits, and I was this Essex kid, and I was just thinking, wow, look at all these people with their blue blood, and it was amazing. And then I remember my friend said to me, come and meet me. He'd now working on the futures market. He said, come and meet me for lunch. It's across the road. So I did, and I went up into the canteen and had a coffee and a sandwich with him, and there's people there with their ties down there and flicking cards at each other and chit-chatting and knocking newspapers out of each other's hand. I thought, I want to work here.
Yeah. Brilliant. No, that's good. I like that. I saw you coached Andy Preston as well, aka Braveheart. What was the differences between his success and the lack of success with other traders? Like, what methods did you use that you found effective in that sort of aspect?
Good question. What was the difference between Braveheart and the others? What's the difference between Messi and the others? You know, there is a difference. Some people have just got a natural talent when they find where their niche is. Andy did that. He is an extraordinarily brave trader.
Yeah.
He's committed. He knows his strengths, and he knows how to execute. You know, this is one of the things that, again, I talk about a lot with clients. He had a real sense of a feel for it. You know, he could get a real sense of the market. So I think a lot of it was natural, and a lot of it was honed and trained, and he was committed to his craft.
Brilliant. Could you also tell us a little bit about your background and experience as a performance coach?
As a coach?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because people have commented, not loads, but people have commented that it was quite a big decision for me to leave trading, right, to go and set up a business on my own in my late 30s.
It's quite a big leap.
But at the time, it didn't seem that. It just seemed that natural, which is kind of, again, what, you know, some of the work that we do is helping people to know that this kind of inner knowing and showing up in our lives in all different areas, and we can trust that. I wasn't aware of that at the time, so I received a letter from a performance coach when I was trading on the screens.
You sort of got into it through that, yeah.
This guy asked if he could come and talk to me about working on mindset with myself and other traders. So he came over. Now at this time, Cruz, I'd already qualified to be a hypnotherapist, just not anything to do with the business, just because I was curious about that, and I must have seen something on TV that alerted or piqued my interest, let's say. He comes over, we have this great conversation, and he goes, and I thought, he's got a business there working with traders, and he's never traded.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I've traded. I know what traders are up against. I know their language. I know their challenges. I know their problems. I know them. I know what they're trying to achieve. And that was that moment where I just thought, I wonder if I could do that. I wonder if there's a possibility. I wonder if there's an opportunity. And Cruz, I just decided to give myself 6 months to go and study and have a feel around and see if there was anything there. And that was 16 plus years ago.
Wow, brilliant. No, that's good. So what are some of the common mindset challenges that new traders face, and how do you help them overcome these challenges as a performance coach?
Well, the challenges that traders face can often, not always, but can often be in alignment with just general challenges that we face.
Yeah.
But maybe they are highlighted. So insecurity would be one. You know, I was insecure as a futures trader. I'm not insecure that I didn't go and do the job and didn't do well at it. No, but I was insecure as to how high I could go, my earning potential, my success level.
Yeah.
Because of the belief system that I'd created. So I would say there's certain beliefs that we have around ourselves and around life and around money and around success and around who we are and what we're capable of.
Yeah.
It's the mind creates these beliefs and we reinforce them over many, many years, and they don't look like beliefs, they look like facts.
Yeah. So how important is mindset when it comes to successful trading, and what are some specific ways that a trader's mindset can impact their performance?
Mindset is the most important variable. It's not just the most important variable in trading, it's the most important variable in life, because it is your life. How you think about you, how you think about life is your life. So it's the most important variable. And so over the last number of years, particularly over the pandemic, that's been highlighted more and more, which is a good thing. But you could have £1 million in your trading account, and if you're overwhelmed and can't pull the trigger because of fear, well, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's going to lead to one way. So what I do is I help people to understand the power of the mind and how innocently and easily they're getting in their own way. And what happens when we start using this incredible gift to support us and in a positive way rather than like putting kinks in the hose.
Yeah.
Put kinks in prevent the flow.
Bruce, can I just cut in here, mate? So Steve, obviously we've worked together, and my only question to you would be, well, how do you put a timeline on these things? If someone's going to say, okay, I need this help with my psyche around trading, I'm struggling with this, can you give them like a timeline on how something like this can develop? Or, I mean, you're going into the unknown, right, when you're going into this stuff, but this stuff can take a long time to break through.
Totally, great. It's a good question. And I am working with a trader right now who is incredibly successful. A very, very successful, very good trader. And he and I typically now create a program. It depends on what people want to achieve and if I feel they're committed and what they want to get from it, and if I think I can support them in that. Because that's not always the case, it's very often the case. But this particular trader has really, really, really struggled with the work we've been doing. And it's literally over the last week, I got a message from him yesterday saying, yeah, I'm having a good week. Not just a good week in trading, that's kind of secondary. He's having a good week in his reaction to trading, because he throws a lot of size around, and when it doesn't go his way, he throws a lot of screens around. But he's now starting to become more settled and more grounded. And he was so pushing back on what we were talking about, and one of the things that we've spoken about, Neil, and one of the things I talk a hell of a lot about is listening. It's not just listening to other people, but it's listening to this, listening to within us. That voice, is it coming from truth? Is it coming from ego? Is it coming from something that's going to be more helpful? So the answer to your question, there is no answer to the question. It is that I just sit down and I present someone with what I think is going to work for them over the period of time and what they're likely to get from it. But as you said, it's all the unknown. And so as long as they're clear with that, as long as they're aware of that, this is a whole of life journey, not whole of life working with me, whole of life in understanding the potential that resides within you.
What are some of the strategies that traders can use to cultivate a positive mindset, even when facing setbacks or losses in the market?
Well, one of the things, and Neil probably knows this, to someone who I worked with, who initially, I think Neil would agree, challenged this and didn't really see the power and the potential of what I was talking about initially, which I didn't when I was being taught this. But there's very little strategies, Cruz. I'm not going to give people strategies. I'm going to give people what's behind a good strategy. And what's behind a good strategy is awareness. The strategy is only as good as awareness. If I'm in a bad mood, the strategy is going to be no good. So it's understanding where I am. It's understanding who I am being in this moment. If I'm being angry, well, I don't need a strategy. So it's an awareness that I'm being angry. Well, as soon as I know I'm being angry, frustrated, reactive, overwhelmed, disappointed, insecure, frustrated, all of these things, as soon as I know that that feeling is there to help me. It's going to let me step away from chasing a loss or getting out of a winning trade too early or doubling my size for no reason or doing all these crazy things that we do. And an analogy is, Cruz, is that if you've got your hand over a flame, the closer your hand gets to the flame, the more that it hurts. Well, that pain is there to help you. If you didn't have pain, you're going to keep going lower and it's going to burn through you. So the pain is there to help you because it lets you be aware that you don't need a strategy for that. Just awareness. And it's the same as us. We start to see that we've got all of the answers and all of the solutions that we need to, whether it's to be a successful trader or to know that trading isn't for me, which is just as successful.
No, that's a great analogy. I like that. That's good. So how do you work with traders to help them manage their emotions while trading and avoid making impulsive decisions based on fear or greed?
I help people to see a lot of things that I didn't know. So I struggle with this as much as some of my clients do, because I'm basically saying to people that how you think the world is, maybe it's 180 degrees out. And what I mean by that is that we want to manage our emotions. We don't want certain emotions. But that's not so much the issue, Cruz. The issue is how I'm feeling. Where is that coming from? So when I was trading, if I lost money, and I'd be like frustrated and angry, and now that frustration and anger seemed as though it's coming from my P&L, and seemed as though it's coming from the market, and I hate the market, or he's made money and I haven't. So it seemed as though that how I was feeling was coming from out there. So because of that misunderstanding, I became very reactive. So I would trade when my mind is in a bad position. It's like me going to play football when my boots are on the wrong feet. It's not the best time to do it. You know, it's not the right time. Or me going to drive with my eyes covered up. It's just not going to work. So when we truly see that how you feel doesn't come from where you think it does. It doesn't come from the outside. It comes from your thinking about the outside. So you're experiencing thought, not experiencing external variable. And so we start to see that, this feeling of anxiety, of stress, of overwhelm, of anger, of frustration, that feeling is there to help me, the same as the candle. That feeling is there to help me because it's letting me know that the thinking I'm having right now is not to be trusted. But because I didn't know that, I reacted to the feeling and I thought the thinking that I had was reliable. So you're stupid, you need to make this money back, what's the matter with you? You can't go home, in the red. And so I'm reacting to this polluted thinking. So I'm picking at a scab and wondering why it's not healing. Well, a scab ain't gonna heal when you pick at it. You're not gonna trade well, you're not gonna be the best you can be if you don't understand how your emotions are being created. good, bad, and indifferent emotions. It's not just bad emotions.
Steve, a quick one. So how would you differentiate like intuition, for instance? So you're saying not to be reactive to your feelings, especially in a bad state of mind. But we've always spoke about intuition, how to be in a quiet place to see through the fog effectively. So you do have to react in some instances, but you're reacting to the good thoughts or the intuition effectively, which is built up over years of experience of trading, right? You get these gut feelings of what you think something's going to do.
Yeah.
So you're still reacting, but how do you react in that sense, and how do you teach people to kind of really hone in on that?
Well, I help them to see the ordinariness, Neil, and the extraordinariness of that. The ordinariness of just a gut feeling or wisdom or intuition or a deeper knowing, it's all words pointing to the same thing. I help people to see that you've been having that all your life, and the more that you're aware of it, the more you bring that to the forefront of who you are, the more you experience it. So that's not then, right, well, I need to get clarity or I need to get intuition. Well, you're not going to get that because you can't force it. It's just a dance. You just start to notice the dance between a distorted, polluted mindset and one that's more clear and present and grounded. And someone might be going, well, how do you know? Well, that's my job. My job is to help you know. But this goes back to the point. And so that is why I said earlier about how important listening is. Can you see the difference with listening? If I'm listening to anger and frustration, I'm reacting to it. I'm then chasing. I've not just had a bad day, I've had a horrendous day because I'm not listening to what is helpful.
I almost felt that when we worked together, when I spoke to you, when I was in a big position, as you know, I increased my contracts quite a lot, up to a few hundred, that you slowed down time for me. Like it was the way you talk, like everything was slowed down, and that would give me clarity. But also, sometimes before I call you, I'd close out the position in anger or frustration or some sort of emotion, and then I'd speak to you, and then I'd see I'd see that I was actually doing the right thing, and that I should have just been more aware of my environment, what I'm actually thinking. So I think you do a great job of slowing down time. So when we talk about methods and things like that of how you do things, I think you've just got a talent with how you explain things and how you get your point across. I think it's all part of your persona.
Well, thank you, and I'll take that. But what is really important, Neil, is that what you just said to me was totally in misalignment with my own beliefs of myself when I was learning this. So I say this to a lot of people. If I can get this, trust me, you can, because I struggle with this. And and hopefully that's hopeful to people, because, and I really mean it, I couldn't mean anything more in my life, is that I struggle with this. I brought so much thinking to this. What they mean, calm your mind. How do you calm your mind? I can't calm my mind. Well, look at what I'm doing. I overthought everything because I was so eager to get this. And my eagerness was what was getting in the way, which is the same as a trader. Your eagerness to make money can get in the way of making money. Your eagerness to get out of a bad position can be the problem. And so innocently, and I use that word a lot, innocently, I was very good at getting in my own way.
Brilliant. So how do you help traders set realistic goals for their trading? And obviously, how would you track their progress towards these goals as you do?
I think by getting quiet with them. I want to know all your expectations. I want to know, because there's a difference, Cruz, between what you want and what you think you want.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be a successful trader. I mean, I don't know what people want, but when you start to get quiet with people, they start to go, oh, that's what I thought I wanted. No, actually, what I want is that. Well, that's really important, because if I want to go on holiday to Mallorca and I've ended up in Italy, well, there's a difference. There's a misalignment. And again, it starts coming from we just start to see ourselves, and we start to see what we're projecting, what we want to create from a different lens.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to play small. People, I mean, and I used to say this when I was trading on the screens, different when I was on the floor, but on the screens it'd be like, well, I just want, enough to get by, and it was like, and I speak to traders and they'll be like, I don't want millions, or I don't want to be super successful. I'm like, why? As opposed to someone saying, well, I want billions. It's like, okay, why? I'm just curious. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. I want to know, because what we often project isn't the true authentic self of what we really want.
Yeah. That's good. Also, Steve, how do you work with traders to help them develop the discipline and consistency in their trading habits?
Great question. Well, this goes back to a very important point, Cruz, which is hopefully people are starting to see that I don't give my clients anything. I don't give them discipline, or I don't give them patience. I see that discipline and patience is who you are. And there's a difference between trying to get it and seeing that that's actually, when I'm present and clear, that's who I am. You can't get more patience. You can just see that you have this infinite supply of it. And you just become, doesn't mean I'm always patient, far from it, but you just become more aware of when you're not patient. And when I'm not patient, when I don't really want to be trading in that moment. Or if I am going to be trading, because I might have to get out of a position or something big's happening, I just am more aware that I'm slightly impatient at the moment, so just cut myself a little bit of slack. It's just that awareness again. It's like, I'm really, 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 really tired. I'm just going to be more aware of the first few people I speak to in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm aware, I'm probably not going to be my normal self. So again, it's just trusting something that's deeper, that's who you really are.
So, can you provide us with an example of a trader you have worked with who struggled with mindset issues, and how you were able to help them overcome those issues?
Yeah. There's a number. I think one of them is one of the joys of my work is I get to get close with the people I work with. And I got close with this trader who's a very successful, punchy trader, but the most gentle, loving human being, who he trades out in Dubai for a massive company. And we did a 6-month program, and he got headhunted, even though he didn't go, but by a huge, even bigger company, the biggest, and because of who he was showing up as. And it wasn't always an easy ride for him, but really at the end of it, and we're still working together after the actual program, because he just knows that there's so much more for him to see.
Yeah.
In actual fact, I spoke with him this week, and he's just trading from a different place. He's just living life from a different place.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that every trade, it doesn't mean that he's always buying lows and selling highs. But he's cut himself a lot of slack. There's a huge level of self-forgiveness within himself. And even when we spoke this week, he's got his massive position on, and it's not going for him in his way. But he said, you know what, Steve? He said, I'm just seeing it from a different place. I'm just not reacting. I'm not panicking. I'm kind of zooming out and being able to see, okay, what do I need to do? It's just, I'll tell you what it is, Cruz, there's a deeper level of trust.
Yeah.
So this guy, I'd love to have him on here now just to speak for 2 minutes, not about me, but about what he's seeing about himself. Because his whole world has shifted.
Incredible. So what advice do you have for new traders who are just starting out in terms of developing a strong performance mindset?
Well, I was going to be a bit cheeky and say good luck, which I suppose in a way, good luck, but maybe not without the cheeky smile. But no, good luck, because it's an extraordinary job, and it's a job for life, and it's a job that's fascinating, and it's a job that will test you and challenge you. And if you're good and lucky, it's a job that will reward you.
Yeah.
Now, what advice would I give? Learn your craft. So important. Put the hours in. We live in, and this is sweeping statements, so take it with a pinch of salt, but we live in an instant society. We want instant money success. We want instant. Well, if you're going to do this job and you do it properly, commit yourself to it. It's the most important thing is your commitment, is who you're showing up to be. And start learning about your mind. Go on this journey. That's the truest, it's the most important thing. Is learning about the power of who you are and how this extraordinary gift of your mind can navigate you through challenges, not just in trading, but in life. Is there anything else I'd like to say to newbies? Well, whatever happens with your trading, whether you're incredibly successful or you fall by the wayside, something that's very important to know is that you're always okay. You're always okay. It might not seem like it, and it might seem very far from you being okay. But that, again, is just the mind taking you down a rather difficult pathway in that moment. But whatever's going on, underneath all of our thinking, we're always okay.
So a lot of people would say perseverance, right? Not to give up. But at what point would you know? Like, how would you know when trading isn't for you, Steve? At what point?
Great point. And so many people have said this to me over the years. And I suppose the more that I've understood me, life, the mind, potential, who we are, I suppose my answer might have shifted slightly. But absolutely, I'm one for commitment. I'm one for absolutely throwing yourself into everything and giving everything. But it's such a valid point, Neil, is this is an extraordinarily challenging industry. And whether you're successful or not, it doesn't make you a better or worse person. But that again goes back, and it's shown up now 3 times in this conversation. It probably could show up in every answer that I've given, but it's about listening to you. And listening to you and not analysing and like we might, because it's again going away from, right, what should I do with this trade? Analyse. Well, there's a good way of looking at what you need to do with the trade, but also there's a way of stepping back from it and just seeing what's guiding me. So, I'll be very much looking at, again, pointing to there is a deeper knowing. And if you get quiet and listen to that, it might say, well, this industry is not for you. But you'll notice the difference, whether it's coming from your ego or whether it's coming from your heart, from a deeper knowing. So again, it's so important for every area of your life is just to be able to listen to you in a way that you've never listened to you before. So how do you know? You'll know. It's like someone saying, well, it's like an alien coming down and saying, well, yeah, when you meet a girl and you like her, how do you know you love her? You're like, yeah, but, well, I don't know, I can't draw it. You just know, it's just a different sense, there's a different awareness, there's a different feeling.
Do you think it's quite important then for newbies in particular to keep like a journal to kind of document what they're doing, and maybe you can see, I was right 8 out of 10 times, but I went too big on one trade and I blew the pot. So that's telling you something different to the guy that's making 2 winning trades. So I think self-reflection, like you just said, like look at yourself, being aware, those things can, well, they certainly helped me through my journey, and I blew both accounts at the beginning. So I would suggest, from my point of view, just maybe a journal. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm open to suggesting things to people, absolutely. But I would always say to them again, I never kept a journal, but I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying, just listen to you and see what works for you. Play around. This is this job. It's ever learning. It's ever. I want you to get creative and right. Okay, I'm going to try a journal for a month, or I'm not going to try a journal for a month. Just see what works for you. I'm going to start, trading a different contract. I just nurture, try. but self-reflection I'm massive on. But again, writing a journal now, this is the same as everything that I teach. Writing a journal is only as good as your state of mind. So if you don't understand the state of mind, you're snookered. Because you're going to write a journal. I'm rubbish, I lost money again, I can't do this job, what's the matter with me? Well, that journal ain't going to be that helpful. Again, see, well, where am I coming from right now? Who am I being in this moment? How am I showing up? Am I showing up with love? Am I showing up with possibility? Am I showing up with potential? Am I showing up with abundance, as an abundant state of mind, or am I showing up as fear? Am I showing up as inadequate? Am I showing up as lack? So you just start to do, you start to see, and I'm not saying that those things are wrong, I'm not saying you shouldn't show up like that, I'm saying, well, you just start to know the dance. Okay, because I'm aware of that, I'm going to cut myself a little bit of slack. You know, I might reduce my size more, I might not, it's a dance. It's a dance.
But I think going into anything new, you always need some sort of mentor, right? I think that's what's so powerful. I think that's what makes the best of traits for people in any area.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a huge fan of coaching. So, I would say everyone should be a coach. And I still speak to many, many mentors, friends, colleagues in this industry because, we've all got, there's a word that I learned recently, or I heard recently, scotoma. And scotoma is blind spot. And, we've all been out when your fly's been undone, your mate's been like, the fly's undone, or you've got a bit of food there. It's scotoma, you didn't realise it's a blind spot, you didn't know it. And we all have blind spots. And I still have, goodness knows, infinite amounts. And sometimes, that's why I love having conversations with a coach or with a colleague, and they'll be like, and I'll be like, I didn't see that. Oh, it's fascinating. And I love playing around with that with myself and just kind of exploring potential blind spots and seeing something fresh and new. So absolutely, a mentor is really important because it helps you realise, it helps you see things that you hadn't maybe previously seen.
Great stuff.
So, how do you keep up with the latest research and insights related to performance mindset coaching in the trading world?
Well, it's not so much in the trading world that I look at, Cruz. I'm just looking at, there isn't a more, in my mind, and there isn't a more fascinating journey than seeing who you really are.
Yeah.
And so I'm always listening to podcasts and going on talks and reading because I'm fascinated, because not only does it impact my life, but it sharpens my pencil for the work that I'm doing with my clients.
Yeah.
So absolutely, whatever you're going to do in this world, whether you're watching this and you don't become a trader, explore your mind. Yeah. Explore the power that you are, the creative power that's within you, and how sometimes that creative power shows up as anger and disappointment and insecurity and worry, and how that power can show up as love and possibility and performance and achievement and magnificence. But again, it's just a dance. It just comes from listening to you in a different way.
Brilliant. Excuse me. So, Steve, how do you help traders build resilience and cope with stress during difficult market conditions?
Well, it goes back to the question that you touched on earlier, which is, whether it's how do you help them create more patience, and I can't remember the other word, discipline. But resilience is the same. Resilience is innate. So last year I worked with a school of 30 children, 30 10-year-olds, and I said to these kids, I want you to consider that you have innate well-being, you have innate resilience. No one in the world has more than you. And so we put down on the whiteboard what words we looked at and what words represented well-being. And it was peace, clarity, love, resilience, resourcefulness, creativity, joy, contentment, confidence, all of these things. And I said, that's who you are. That's your natural state. That's the reservoir of possibility that resides within you and everybody. And I said, if that's true, kids, how comes I don't always feel those things?
Yeah.
And they're like looking at me as if, well, hold on, he's telling us we've all got it, and he's saying that he doesn't always feel it. So I said, if we all stood out into the school playground right now and looked to the sky, could we see the sun? And they all looked outside and looked up, and they went, no. And I said, why can't we see the sun? And they said, because there's cloud in the way. I said, good answer. I said, is the sun still there? Sun's always there. Your resilience, your well-being is always there. It just gets covered up by our own insecure thinking. And when our mind starts to calm down and clear, we naturally start accessing this innate well-being, this innate resilience. As soon as the cloud starts to clear, the sun shines through. It's just how it works. So to answer your question, I don't give them resilience. I show them that there's no one in the world who has more resilience than them. And I just help them to see it in a way that they are able to access it and not be too disappointed when they don't experience it.
Yeah. So, Steve, how do you tailor your coaching approach to meet the individual needs and goals of each trader you work with?
One of my great mentors said to us as a group, he said, all we are is tour guides. Yeah. I was like, tour guides? And he said, yeah, because, you know, if you pick someone up from Heathrow Airport, you'll say, well, where do you want to go? And they say, London. You say, okay, whereabouts in London? Well, I want to go to the city. Okay, so you take them to the city. Where do you want to go? I want to go to the Bank of England. Okay, so you went. Now, unless you ask all these questions, you're just going to take them to London.
Yeah.
But the more questions you ask, oh, they actually want to go to the museum part of the Bank of England. Well, unless I ask questions, I wouldn't know. Now, I just take them to where they want to go. I don't take credit for the Bank of England. I don't take credit for the results these people achieve. My job is just to take them there and to show them what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
So I'm a tour guide.
Brilliant. Can you provide some examples or specific tools or techniques that you can use to help traders develop a positive mindset and overcome mindset challenges?
Well, again, what we're looking for, it goes back to that question of tools and techniques. And I'm not saying I'm against tools and techniques, but I suppose there's a tool and technique. I'm going before a tool and technique, or I'm going behind what a tool and technique is. A tool and technique is only as good as who you're being in that moment. So I'm guessing from the question, what we're after is kind of like a quick fix for someone, something for someone to take away with them. And I understand that, but let me try and think of something I can do. I'm going to give you two extraordinarily profound and powerful questions. And I'm going to give you a bit of context before I give you these questions. So in every moment of our life, we are always being. When I talk to people, they're like, well, yeah, I'm being Cruz Welsh, or I'm being Dave Smith, or no, I understand that. You're always being you. But you start to see that we're, again, from listening and becoming more aware, we start to see, oh, I'm actually being a little bit aggy, or I'm being really aggressive, or I'm being really frustrated right now, or I'm being really peaceful, I'm being present. So you start to see that we are always being in every moment of our life. And every doing is only going to come, or is only going to be as good as who I'm being. So if I'm going to do something insignificant, let's say, to some, as mowing my lawn, how I mow my lawn is dependent on who I'm being. If I'm being, I can't be bothered to do this. If I'm being, I don't really like gardening. If I'm being, I haven't got time to do this. well, I'm going to do a different job than if I'm being, oh, I like being out here, or this is great, or I'm present, or I'm not rushing. So it's all about doings. How you trade is dependent on who you're being.
Yeah.
How you live your life, how the world looks to you in any moment is down to who you are being. So 2 questions. The first one is to ask yourself, who am I being right now? And if you say, well, I'm being aggy, or I'm being angry, or I'm being frustrated, there's nothing wrong with that. It can be really helpful to know that. And then you ask yourself, well, who do I need to be right now? And you start to see very often there's a misalignment with who I'm being and who I need to be. And so, like anything, we can shift. And we can shift the more that we become aware of it.
So, how do you work with traders to help them identify and overcome limiting beliefs or self-doubt that may be impacting their performance?
Well, what's interesting, Cruz, about my work is it doesn't really change with who I'm working with. So if I'm working with a highly successful trader, or if I'm working with someone who's unemployed, or if I'm working with a single mum of 5, or if I'm working with a prisoner, or if I'm working with a professional footballer, or if I'm working with a 10-year-old child.
Yeah.
The language that I use might change, but fundamentally what I'm pointing them to is still the same, which is that you're not who you think you are. You are infinitely more than you could ever imagine. So I just take people on a journey into them seeing, like me, and it's helping them see the visible that was previously invisible, or making visible what was previously invisible, which was the mind and the potential and how we get in the way of it and thought. And what happens when we start to see that we've got access to infinite possibility. So saying that and someone hearing this on this call will be like, what do you mean I've got infinite possibility? I don't know, I can't run like as fast. No, I'm talking about the mind, the infinite possibility of who you are. So people will hear what I'm talking about, listen, and they will hear it from here. But when people really start to have a shift, they start hearing it from here. It's a metaphor. You start hearing it from somewhere deeper. So really, I just take people on a journey. I want to find out about them. I want to find out about, their ideas of themselves and life and what they're bringing to the table. Because what they're bringing to the table, they're probably not aware of. They're bringing to the table that they've got a belief around money that isn't going to help them be successful as a trader. They might have a belief around money, which is money's the root of all evil. Well, if you've got that, you don't even know you got it. It's at the back of your mind somewhere, but it's something you heard when you was 10 years old, and all of a sudden you're bringing this, or I'm really not, I'm not cut out to be successful. Well, if you've got that belief, you don't sometimes know that, but that is going to impair and that's what's got in the way of me. I had a belief around me, and I had a belief around money and success and life, and it restricted my potential. So what I help people to do is to see their current ceiling and make it their floor. And so they then have a new ceiling. So their ceiling becomes the floor.
Brilliant. Can you provide us with some examples of success stories from traders you have worked with and the impact that your coaching had on their performance?
Yeah, one trader I can think of who I probably see once a quarter now, once every 6 months maybe. Great man, big fan, great trader, very successful. Came to me initially because making money wasn't an issue for him, but losing money was an issue for him. So he would have great wins and he would just capitulate and what's the word? Can't think of the word. Sabotage. And so making money wasn't an issue, but losing money was an issue. And performance, success, P&L wise, this man has continued to be very, 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 very successful without having these huge blips and these huge drawdowns. And not only was he losing a lot of money, this was obviously impacting himself and his life and the way he saw and the way he traded and ongoing. So it was a very positive story. And not only that, two things. One of them is the way he sees himself and his life and his family. He's got 4 girls, I think. But very often, the conversations that we have, I sit down with him, because we've been on this journey for so long, I sit down with him and I'm like, well, what are you going to teach me today? He's got such an extraordinary understanding of the mind and the spiritual awareness of who we are. And I'm like, come on. And he's a great man. He's a really, really top man. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, brilliant. No, I think that answered it really well. So moving on from that, how do you integrate technology or data analysis into your coaching approach, if at all?
I don't. And that's not to say I could or maybe I should, but I currently don't. I mean, if people want to do that, if people want to bring that to the coaching program or bring that to the table or want to use that for themselves, absolutely. And we can incorporate that. But it's not something that I do, Cruz.
No. I suppose it's one of those things, isn't it? It's not always necessary in that sense.
Well, yeah, and that's not for me to decide. That's for them. Because all of a sudden, if their mind's more clear and open, they might go, actually, I know, I'm going to start bringing to the table some data understanding and awareness. Brilliant. Yeah. So they might see things that they hadn't previously seen or try things they hadn't previously tried.
Yeah. So would you say that's more for them self-reflection rather than for you to use in that sense, using your skills that you provide them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever once had the question from a trader who has asked me, but if they did, I'd love to do that. If someone was to provide me with a month's data and analysis and we could look over it and we could have not an hour together, but spend the day together, we can pull it apart and we can actually see, guess what I'm going to ask them, Cruz? I'm going to ask them, well, in that moment when you had a horrendous day and that big drop down, well, who was you being?
Yeah.
So it's always going to come back to the journey that I'm on with them. And they're going to go, well, I was being so angry and I was so annoyed at that other trade. And I was like, okay, well, can you see what happens to your performance dependent on who you're being? So what I'm sharing doesn't shift. Excuse me.
So, Steve, how do you help traders maintain discipline and consistency in their trading habits over the long term?
I think what we've done, Cruz, over our lives is through our experience of life, we've reinforced certain habits and certain beliefs and certain behaviors. And often we don't even see that we've done that, excuse me. So in a way, I'm helping people to dismantle, firstly to become aware that they have these filters and they have these beliefs and ideas and habits around life. And then we dismantle them in a way via the power of understanding, awareness, insight. And we rebuild. I suppose it's like, what comes to my mind is like an Etch-a-Sketch. You can draw a picture and then all of a sudden, well, you can't do anything on top of that picture, but you can shake it and start again so you can recreate. And, I'm helping people to see that this is such a big thing with me. More and more and more, I won't work with people unless I get a sense of their commitment.
Yeah.
And I've done it before and it doesn't really work out. So your commitment is vital, and it's imperative, and not only for your success in the program we're going to do, it's whether or not we actually do a program. Because I'm not going to work with people. One trade I was working with was looking at me to fix it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like, well, what are you doing about it? You showing up on a Zoom call once a week, that's not what I'm talking about. What are you doing? Who are you being? Because I'll meet you on the bridge, but I'm only going to meet you halfway.
Yeah.
You need to come to the table. So, yeah, I think it's making positive shifts within their own belief system about who they are, how the mind works, the potential that they have, and seeing that it's like this: the more you understand this, the more you get from it.
Yeah.
The more you understand your mind and how it works, the more you get from it. My job is to help people to understand how the mind works.
Yeah. I suppose utilising what's inside you, isn't it, rather than being able to just have a one size fits all. I mean, one thing fits all in that sense. Like,
totally. It's that's the same for everything, whether it's that or my glasses, it's gravity. But gravity's underpinning all of it, whether it's a bomb or a feather, whether it's something beautiful or something, destructive. Gravity is what's underpinning it. So the more that we understand, well, what's underpinning our behavior and our performance and who we're being, we get to see whether it's, in this case, a bomb, or whether it's a feather, whether it's something destructive or whether it's something empowering. There is a truth behind all of it. There's a gravity behind whether it's a feather or a bomb. There's a truth behind whether I'm being extraordinarily focused and present or angry and destructive.
yeah,
It's still coming from a creative force within me. It's just how I'm utilising that creative force. It's how I'm utilising gravity or not.
yeah. I suppose it's just about being aware that you are doing those things, isn't it, and not sort of being distracted, and obviously properly utilising it in that sense.
Absolutely, and awareness is something that we are pure awareness. Every human being is just pure awareness.
Yeah.
And so it starts to see awareness is just the most extraordinary gift. And if you don't know you're lost, if you're walking down the street and you don't know you're lost, you're going to keep walking. What's the most important thing is awareness. Oh, I'm lost. If you don't know you're lost, you're keeping going. So awareness is, again, it's just that awareness. So I help people become aware of awareness.
Yeah, no, makes sense. So do you have any clients involved in other areas of elite performance?
Absolutely. When I started out, all those years ago, 80-90% of my clients were traders.
Yeah.
And I would say that's been a massive shift now, because so much of my work is involved in the corporate world, in sales teams, in managers, in all members of staff. I mean, mental health and well-being performance is huge. Every company is on it. There's so many people who are private clients. So yeah, in 16 years, I've never been busier, which I think is great, because it highlights that people are becoming more aware of the possibility of an extraordinary life, not by literally changing that, but by changing that.
Yeah.
And that, whether it's professional footballers, sports people, but everyone's got a mind, and everyone's got potential, and everyone seems, not everyone, but a lot more people are becoming more curious and interested in the life that they're living.
So, Steve, do the skills and mindset cross over into trading from those different areas?
I do. I think there's, when you look at sport, it's so easily to see connections, relations, and how they overlap. I mean, I'm a Man United fan, and I can just remember seeing Wayne Rooney give the ball away and chase after the ball, or chase after the person who's taking the ball off of him, and you're going like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, smash, yellow card. You know it's coming.
Yeah.
Because of who he's being in that moment. He's being reactive, he's being aggressive. I can't believe someone's got the ball off me. And now, obviously, that didn't happen all the time, but you can just see that, and you can see it in golf, or McIlroy when he fell apart once. I think it was in the Masters or in the US Open. So absolutely, and you can see it's so fascinating in football when a team is like 2-0 up and they're smashing a team, and it's so one-sided, and all of a sudden, there's a lucky tackle, or they give the ball away, or there's a free kick, or they might score a lucky goal, and the team that was 2-0 up are now 2-1 up. But what they were doing a minute ago, which was just passing the ball and fluidity and confidence, has all gone to now they can't pass the ball properly, and the buzz and the growth in momentum has shifted now to the team that's now scored the goal, and it's like, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's so extraordinary, and we start. So what I would love the people listening to this is explore, look at it in everyday life. Look at how people show up. Look at how you show up. This is everywhere. This is everything.
Yeah.
My biggest client is a big insurance company in London, and the boss is an extraordinary man and an extraordinary entrepreneur and a powerful human being. His son races in Formula 2, and he told me one of the psychologists had said to his son, he said, the slower you go in the cockpit, the quicker you go on the track. Well, there's some overlap into everything. When I used to trade, if my mind was going really quick, I was going quicker in the cockpit. I'm going quicker in the cockpit, and all of a sudden I don't know what to do, I don't know where to get out, I'm just reacting, I'm making poor decisions. Again, if I'm here and I'm present in my mind, the slower I'm going in the cockpit, the better trading decisions I'm going to make. In anything. It can be anything. It can be sometimes if I'm late for a train and I'm rushing around in the morning, and all of a sudden I knock a glass over and it smashes, and I'm like, the first thing that comes to my mind now, what would have happened years ago, I would have been annoyed at that. So not only am I late, I've got to clear this up. But so often it doesn't really happen. But when something like that happens, it's such a gift to me. Because that is a gift saying, Steve, you need to slow down. That smashing a glass has made me later, but it's been helpful to me. Sometimes losing money in a trade can be helpful to you. We just need to open our mind, open up the possibility, open up that there's gifts all around.
Yeah.
Am I willing to see them? Can I see them? I invite people to see the miracles in the mundane. And the fact that we're creating this video for people that I don't know. It's just a chat, but there's a miracle in the mundane. Look at this. Look at what we've created.
Would you say it's quite important to obviously, like mindset-wise, how you're reacting to the world around you in that perspective?
Well, how you react is how you react is a direct implication on your current state of who you're being.
Yeah.
And you've got a bigger say in who you're being and how you're showing up than what you think.
Yeah.
That's an incredible gift when we really see that.
So Steve, when you say you want people to be aware of themselves, do you think a routine can be beneficial in high pressure situations? For example, when you spoke about Ronaldo, Rooney, etc. How does it sort of help take the pressure off when it matters?
Well, I think, you know, a routine absolutely can be helpful, but I don't tell people to have a routine. You know, if someone wants to create a routine or think it's good, I'm just going to say amazing. But I want to find out where they're coming from when they create the routine. If they're coming from, this isn't going to work, or I really need to do this to fix me, it's all about, I want to know not what they're going to create, I want to know where they're coming from. If they're coming from, this is a great idea and I really feel this makes sense, or if they're coming from a need and a panic, well, the routine's no good. Everything is down to who we're being and where we're coming from. But we look at this. We look, well, I need to do a routine, or I need to do a journal, or I need to up my size, or I need to be successful. And it's like, well, maybe we'll come to those questions in a little while. Let's just go behind the curtain first and find out how you're showing up to the routine, how you're showing up to the journal, how you're showing up to trading, how you're showing up to this, listening to even to this. It's how you're showing up. It's who you're being.
Brilliant. So that's all the questions for today. And I was going to say, obviously, before we wrap up, for those who want to reach out and contact you so they can discuss their own limits, what's the best way to get in touch?
The best way to get in touch would be via email, I would say.
Email.
Email is Stephen with a PH at performance-coach.co.uk.
Cool. And what we'll do, we'll post the links and that in the video anyway for everyone to access. But no, that was brilliant. Thank you very much for all that, Steve, and wonderful. It's good seeing you and good catching up again as well.
Well, good to see you, Cruz, and thank you for inviting me on here. And have a good day. And Neil, thank you for your input as well.
Yeah, take care, Steve.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye-bye.